I just finished watching a movie. It's called The Midnight Sky, and it is directed and starred by George Clooney. And it was a pretty deep movie, I thought. There are a lot of complex characters in it. Maybe some of the acting is a bit, you could call it fake or not very real, but the story itself is very deep, I thought. And it is about a scientist who he's a space scientist who is starred by George Clooney. His name in the movie is Augustine. And what he does is that he is trying to stop a spaceship from coming back to Earth from a planet that they have visited, trying to find a new habitat for humanity. And the reason why he's trying to stop that spaceship from coming back is that there was a global disaster, some sort of global incident that basically rendered the whole Earth inhabitable. And really, the movie has a lot of turning points, even up to the very last few minutes of the movie. There's a huge turning point that if the person is not paying attention, they wouldn't be able to see it. But one of the things that really kind of made me think quite a bit actually is the idea of being alone. If somebody was to be completely alone, let's say on this earth, for example, what would that be like? And what would that person do? What would their imagination be like? What would their dreams be like? What would their motivation be like to begin with? Would they just want to end their life? Would they want to continue to do good? Now, the movie really tries to address, at least not address, but present certain scenarios in which people lose each other one at a time, as well as this the star of the movie, George Clooney. I'm not going to basically spoil the movie for you, but he is alone on the planet, and basically whenever he meets somebody, whether it is at random or it is planned, that person does not last long due to this huge disaster that happened on Earth. Now, that made me again think about what if one of us was alone, was completely alone? What would that feel like? Now, from an Islamic perspective, the person is never alone. The person always has a company. If that company is not another human being or an animal, that company is the self or the divine. So the divine is, from an Islamic perspective, is always with us. Now, for somebody who does not believe in the divine, then they are with themselves and with what themselves or basically their self does. And why I'm saying that is because even in the loneliest period from an Islamic perspective, the very loneliest conscious period from an Islamic perspective, which is the period that the person dies and goes and is buried in his or her grave. um, God Almighty, God the Divine, does bring a companion for that person. And that companion is either somebody who is good looking, well scented, you know, basically a pleasant companion, or somebody who is not well groomed, who is not well scented, and does not look that good, and is not that very kind, and is not very kind. Now, the good person that can be a companion for the human being in their grave is basically their good deeds. So when the person is completely alone in the grave, in this period that Islam calls Hayatul Barzakh, the basically the intermediate period or the life of Barzakh, which is the period from the moment the person dies in this life until the very second they're resurrected for the day of judgment. This is considered the middle period in five different periods that are defined by Islam. that the person would spend in their grave, basically after their death, until they are resurrected. And even in that period, that is the loneliest period, God Almighty, the Divine, has a companion for the human being. Now, the companion of that human being is very dependent on their perspective on life, on their outlook on life, and in their actions in life. Basically, it starts from the inner part, from the heart, from what the person believes, from the mind, what the person perceives, and how they perceive this world and how they perceive this life, all the way until their actions. These three aspects, they define what that companion would be like. And hence, I thought it might be a very interesting thing to present as a question. What would it be like for you if you are completely alone? If you have nobody else? What would that companion be like? Would that companion be the good, well groomed, pleasant person? Or would that companion be the not so well groomed, the not so pleasant, and the very ill scented person, representing basically the bad deeds? I hope this makes you think. Make sure you watch that movie. Apparently, it is ranked as the number one movie in Canada, um, to my surprise. But it did feel very Canadian, to be honest. So yeah, do watch that movie and let me know what you think. And I will see you in the next episode.